Well, it all sounds very simple when it's put like that. Let's talk to Zoe Harcombe, who's a nutritionist and author of The Obesity Epidemic. She joins us from Cardiff, and also here in the studio we have Dr. Ahmed, a consultant surgeon specialising in weight loss surgery. Thank you both for joining us. Zoe Harcombe, first of all, is it about education or is it about action like fat taxes?
I absolutely disagree with the fat tax. That is the last macronutrient that we should be taxing. I would love to see the government tax processed food primarily and sugar particularly, but the UK is actually deficient in fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E and K, and we actually need to be eating more fat, more real food, the stuff that we evolved to eat.
How do you get people to eat 10% less than they're currently eating? Because that's what we're hearing today, that basically the Department of Health says most adults in our country are eating about that amount of calories more than is necessary.
Well, if you do a back of the envelope on the 5 billion calories that they've put in the press release today, with 60 million people in the UK, that's about 83 fewer calories per person per day. So it's not 10%. And as the Chief Medical Officer said, they are actually increasing the calorie intake at the same time, which is a very confusing message. But we know that eating less does not work. There is a very well-worn statistics, 98% of diets fail. Those are only diets that try to create a calorie deficit. We have known this since 1917. We have quantified it as a 98% failure rate since 1959, and yet still the Chief Medical Officer and our Health Minister are saying less.
Sorry, I don't get what you're saying. You're saying eating less does not work.
Eating less does not work.
But that's always the message we're told. You've got to eat less and exercise more.
It is absolutely the message we are told, and it is absolutely fundamentally wrong.
So what does work?
What does work is eating differently. We need to go back to eating what we ate before we had an obesity epidemic. And it's what our grandmothers would tell us to eat now. We need to go back to the meat, the liver, the sardines, the eggs, the butter, the foods that we have demonised in the interests of the food industry. We need to go back to eating real food. It's what we've evolved to eat.
So non-processed foods. Dr. Ahmed, would you agree with that?
Partly. Essentially, to lose weight, you basically have to match your energy intake with your energy expenditure. If you eat too many calories and you don't burn them off, your body's going to store them as fat.
You're making the sort of equation, though, that that Zoe Harcombe disagrees with. Basically, it's purely down to numbers.
No, I think you have to eat healthy foods, and you have to make sure you get a mixed diet and a mixed balance of healthy foods. But at the end of the day, the energy that you take in, and it doesn't matter which form it's coming in, it's going to equal calories. That has to actually equate the energy that you burn off. But I think in the bigger picture, what we have to understand is what the Department of Health is saying is really to help patients who are overweight and to prevent obesity. The problem that we face in our hospitals is that we have around 1.2 million people who are morbidly obese, where these techniques don't work.
And just explain morbidly obese. What does that mean?
Morbidly obese basically means that your body mass index is over 35. So for the average height person in this country, that would probably be over 12 to 14 stone in weight. So at those levels of obesity, you're actually injuring your health. So you're developing conditions like diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, heart disease. And in those situations, the only effective means of offering significant sustained weight loss is through actually more radical interventions like surgery.
And the message today is that a lot of people are in denial about how much they're eating. Is that an issue? Is it purely overeating that makes people get morbidly obese, or is there a physiological element too?
There is a physiological element to it as well, but at the end of the day, it's a simple equation. If you eat too much and you don't burn off that extra calorie, you will put on weight. I mean, you can eat 8,000 calories a day like bodybuilders do, but they actually burn it off through exercise. So if you can match what you eat with exercising through burning it off, you're actually going to be stable in terms of your weight. So
Zoe Harcombe, I mean, you're obviously talking at different ends of the spectrum, because Dr. Ahmed is seeing patients who he says need surgery in order to get back to the proper weight. How would you tell people they should just make sure that they're living healthily so they don't get to that stage of being morbidly obese?
Well, actually, I would work with his patients as well and give them exactly the same advice. I would agree with him that the dieting, the eat less, do more advice that we're given at the moment does not work. I do agree with him that faced with that advice, the only current alternative that we seem to have is bariatric surgery, but there is another way. We can simply go back to eating what we've evolved to eat. And if you've had a gastric band, you're going to find it very difficult to eat real food. And I don't accept the energy equation. We've proven back as far as 1956, if you feed people exclusively zero carbohydrate, they cannot physiologically, biochemically gain weight. It is laying down body fat that is determined by carbohydrate and insulin, and those are the things that we're now telling people to base their meals on. We're saying base your meals on starchy foods.
Politics of medicine to medicine itself. Surgeons say 1 million obese people in the UK could benefit from weight loss surgery, including gastric bypasses and gastric bands. The UK's first large-scale study of its impact has found it greatly reduced type 2 diabetes and other health problems. The authors say the NHS is on the brink of being overwhelmed by obesity-related referrals, and the surgery represents good value for money. Well, the study looked at more than 1,400 operations out of an estimated 10,000 carried out over 2 years. Before weight loss surgery, 379 of those obese patients had type 2 diabetes. 1 year afterwards, well, the number with type 2 diabetes had gone down to 188. Well, Mr. Ahmed, who's a bariatric surgeon at Imperial College NHS Trust, has joined us in the studio, and I'm grateful to you. I'm sure people would really welcome the idea that there's a big reduction in the number of people with type 2 diabetes. But should NHS resources be spent on doing this when, if people just went on a diet, you wouldn't need to?
Well, the problem is that diet and lifestyle changes in the morbidly obese population actually do not have an effect on treating their health problems. When you reach a state of severe obesity, numerous studies have shown that weight loss surgery is the only effective means of providing long-term sustained weight loss and therefore improvement in health.
Why? Why can't people? Why, if people get grossly obese, can they not deal with the problem?
It just does not work. It's easy to diet, absolutely. Everybody can diet, but the weight loss is only short-term. And as soon as you stop dieting, you regain the weight, and hence your problems return. It's like asking you, for example, to hold your breath for 10 seconds. You can do it, but can you hold your breath for 10 minutes?
But seeing as it as a condition that has been imposed, I'm just interested in the sort of the science of it, if you like. I mean, I can understand that psychologically people might find it difficult to keep on, but if you know, there's no great mystery to dieting. If you eat less and exercise more, you will lose weight.
Yes, that is true, and that works for moderately overweight people. But when you reach a stage of obesity, and remember, we're talking about people with a body mass index over 40, so this is, on average above 15, 20 stone in weight. It is next to impossible to get weight loss from dieting, which is going to be maintained. It's this problem with dieting is that the effects are only temporary.
So if you have this surgery, what does it actually do?
Well, it depends on the kind of operation we do. There are many different kinds, but in general terms, what we do is we change the shape of the stomach, make it smaller, and that in turn reduces the amount of calories that can be taken in. At the same time, various hormonal changes are happening as well from the surgery, which actually alters your hunger levels and also your fullness levels after you eat food.
I hate to draw a sort of parallel with banks, which seems a really odd thing to do, but the kind of whole issue of moral hazard. If you think, oh, I can just eat and eat and eat, and frankly, then I'll just get some surgery and it will get sorted out, then you don't take any moral responsibility yourself. I just wonder whether you think there is an ethical, moral issue there.
No, I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think patients who suffer from obesity, it's actually a disease. It's like, you could say it's like cancer or heart disease, and it should be treated in equal terms. And the best thing, of course, with treating obesity is that by treating one thing, you actually improve a myriad of other conditions, diabetes just being another one of them.
And I suppose, in a brief then, it means that it's a very cost-effective operation, because, frankly, you're saving the NHS money on a whole pile of other things.
Indeed, and that's been shown in this report. The direct cost of treating health-related problems from obesity is about £5 billion a year to the NHS. Just to give you an example, the treatment cost of diabetes are £3,000 a year per patient. A gastric bypass costs the NHS £10,000, and it's a one-off treatment. If you pay £3,000 a year per diabetic, you can imagine, that's going to cost 15, 20, 35 years of treatment. So you can see the results clearly.
Fantastic. Okay, very interesting to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming into the studio. Thank you. Thank you.
Health problems, trapped in a vicious circle of obesity and the diseases it causes.
Type 2 diabetes is a silent killer. Patients with the disease often suffer from many other problems such as heart disease, eye problems, kidney disease, and it costs the NHS a lot of money.
This operation costs around £6,000. This patient will see the benefits of surgery almost immediately in terms of weight loss, but today's research also suggests that within 2 or 3 years, this operation could also be saving the NHS money. This is the first study of its kind in the UK on weight loss surgery. Information was gathered on more than 7,000 operations. That's most of those carried out over 2 years. More than 1,400 patients were followed up. Before surgery, 379 had type 2 diabetes. 1 year after surgery, 191 of those patients had no symptoms. A few years ago, Jerome Timbrell weighed almost 23 stone. The weight piled on after he was taken hostage in a robbery. He started eating compulsively and even with counselling couldn't stop. Now, after surgery, his old clothes look like another man's wardrobe and the warning signs for diabetes have disappeared.
It changed my life and it was wonderful, and if they hadn't have done it, then I would have been sat there, I would have been 25, 30 stone now.
Jerome is running a marathon this weekend. He eats less and exercises more. Many believe it's a better way for most people to lose weight.
It has to be one of a range of options, and for a lot of people there are much less invasive ways of dealing with problems of overweight and obesity. But for some patients this will have a place.
But with NHS budgets under pressure, many areas have already decided this surgery is a lower priority. Bronwyn Jeffries, BBC News.